Hello. Today I want to share my life story with you. My life story begins in the year 1958. That was the year my parents got married. And I was born 4 years after that in the year 1962. And during those 4 years, my parents and my grandparents from the both the sides, they were so eagerly waiting for me. They went to so many temples, they did so many prayers, pujas, asking God for a child. And after all those, after 4 long years, I was born. And not only I was their first child, but I was also the first male child. And that was very important for them in those days. I was a treasure for them. I was so cherished, and I got all love from them. And at my home, my grandparents from my mother's side, because my mother was the only child, so they were there with us all through my childhood. So I used to have ample attention, love and affection, even though my two brothers were born in quick succession after that, but still we had a lot of love and care to share. And then the next part of my life story begins when I was 8 years old. That was when I started reading English novels. Of course, child novels by Enid Blyton and other similar ones. I used to read so many novels, even starting at such an young age. Apart from that, the Amarchitra Katha series, they were the cartoon stories. It used to come every week or something, and covering stories from ancient Indian heritage, Indian history, ancient history, Ramayana, Mahabharata, stories about Mughal Empire, Shivaji Maharaj. All those, I could say that my foundation with the Indian culture got embedded due to these. And on the other side was the Enid Blyton, the stories with the Western setting. And when I was 9 years old, I got my Tread ceremony, the Upanayana, after which a new kind of discipline started. I had to do the Sandhya Vandana 3 times every day. My grandfather was my guru and coach at that time. And also, I got this extracurricular Gurukul kind of education with an institution called Balavihar in Bombay in those days. The Chinmaya mission, they used to have this in various residential localities. And also there was a temple close by where I used to go to learn lot of Sanskrit slokas. So I could recite for hours together Sanskrit slokas from my memory, like Vishnu Sahasranamam, then the Purusha Suktam, and so many like that. And then these were the extra curricular learnings. Then my basic school education. In school, I was in one single school from my primary to the 11th standard. I was a very intelligent, brilliant child. Just once, if I attend a class, I will know everything, and I will not study or practice after that. Straight away go for the test. In fact, mathematics and science and all, after one class, all my school students would come to me and ask doubt, what is this, I didn't understand. So I was very carefree. I never used to study at home, do homework and all, simply because I could grasp so fast. The next major stepping stone was my 12th standard, because that year my father's business collapsed. He was having a small factory in Bombay making wiring harnesses for automobiles, and he had to close down due to some losses. So he decided to move to Hyderabad to start again. So that year, because I was in my 12th, I had to stay with my uncle in Bombay and continue my 12th standard. That was the year when I moved from my school to a college, intermediate college, and my parents had to move. And also, unfortunately, that was one year in which both my grandfathers, they died within a span of 1 year. I was very close to both of them in their last times. I used to be there taking care of them last few days of their lives. And that also was a big learning for me. So that year when I had stayed in Bombay away from my family was also a new kind of experience. I had to go to college far away. And, my mother, my brothers, my grandmother, they were all away from me in Hyderabad. And every time I get a few days holidays, I used to go to Hyderabad to be with them. So this was a change. And then after 12th, I moved to Hyderabad. And I was the college topper in 12th. But then I didn't want to continue my education in Bombay, so I moved to Hyderabad and took up AMI instead of a regular college. I opted for AMI, and that's an engineering education by a different institution, the Institution of Engineers. I used to go to a private college in the evening, and during the daytime I used to work as an intern, factory shop floor supervisor in a sheet metal fabricating workshop. For a year it went on like that, and then I dropped out of my formal education and joined my father's business full time. In those days my father's factory in Hyderabad started growing, and then he also started a new branch in Bombay. So he had to manage both. So I started learning the ropes of entrepreneurship from that. At that time I was just 19 years old, in the year 81, when I dropped out of education and joined my father. My father became my university, a university into my entrepreneurship. So I was extremely busy running around from Bombay to Hyderabad, learning and taking care of the ropes of the business. It was a manufacturing industry supplying to automotive industries. In Bombay, my father used to supply to Premier Automobiles. Those days, Premier Automobiles was the largest car maker in India, and he was directly supplying wiring harness to them. I was taking care of marketing there. And then in the year 1983, I got married when I was just 21 years old. And in 84, I became a father. So the name of the company that my father was running and where I was working with him in those days was called Indoflex. And we had a factory in Bombay and a factory in Hyderabad. And my first daughter was born in 1984, the second one was born in 1989. And during this time, my father, in Indoflex, my father's brother was also a partner, and they separated. And once again, my father came out, and we came into a startup situation again. And we started Srinisans Cables in Hyderabad, and we started supplying to Maruti. Those years, Maruti became the biggest car maker in India in the later part of the 80s when they overtook Premier. I was never at home because my daughters, we were in a joint family. My grandmother was there, my parents were there. So I was always out touring, taking care of the factory, taking care of the business, most of the time going to Gurgaon to visit Maruti, always absent from home. And the next stepping stone in my life I can remember is in 1992 when I went for a month to Japan for a training in a wiring harness factory there. That was my first trip abroad, and for 1 month I stayed there in Japan, learning the Japanese language, learning the business from all angles, from the management to the workshop. and that gave me a big input, expanded my thinking, my knowledge. I came back to Hyderabad. We started making machines because of that training, because in those days we had to import all the machines from Japan. We started making toolings, the machines ourselves in Hyderabad. And in '93, my father wanted to start a factory in Chennai also. So he moved to Chennai. I became the head of Hyderabad division. And then we started a new division for stamping. We got this technology from Taiwan. So I went to Taiwan. I learned this technology. I was in the shop floor learning and came back, set up this factory. So that was also a big learning for me. The point is that I could, although my formal education was stopped after my high school, the beauty was that I was always a learner. So in fact, I could say that my education has never stopped because there wasn't a formal full stop to my academic education. So I kept learning all through my life.